We're going to turn this country around. We're going to turn it around really fast. We're going to do the things that you've wanted to do. We're going to bring it back to 4 years ago and do even more.
Pointing out that there are no Fortune 500 CEOs who are supporting former President Trump. And that is a historic break going back to William Howard Taft and through Calvin Coolidge and Ronald Reagan and the Bushes and everything, is that it's been anywhere from 40 to 60% public and financial support. It's zero now.
One of the reasons that I think this is important heading into the debate is because I'm not a person who knows a ton about the business world. I definitely don't think of myself as sharing all the same values as CEOs, but I also know politics reasonably well. And I feel like the perceptions of who the business community is with is an important thing, even for people who aren't themselves in the business world, right? Because you start to think, oh, well, these business people are smart. They must know who's going to be economically better for the country. And that's, I believe, why they're trying to create this perception. And that's why it's important for us to report if that perception is false.
Oh, that's gonna hurt!
You know what this is? It's music to my ears. After months and months of turning this Scottish mug as red as my hair, trying to explain to folks that Trump, the economic messiah, as his cult followers are led to believe, is a fraud, a facade, a fugazi.
Fairy dust. It doesn't exist. It's never landed. It is no matter. It's not on the elemental chart. It's not fucking real.
All of which was cooked up by the Trump camp to mask the fact that the Biden economy is light years ahead of the train wreck that Trump handed over.
Under Joe Biden, we just had the best year of American job creation in the 21st century. The U.S. stock market keeps hitting new records and then breaking those records and then hitting new ones that are even higher.
And business leaders, you know, those more tuned into every crevice of the market to ensure they squeeze as much as possible out of it, are saying Trump's economic plan is an impending disaster.
There's Elon Musk and kind of Elon Musk backup dancers who have been very pro and outspoken pro-Trump in the last few weeks. And I want to explain why. They know how good the economy is. Elon Musk and all that Joe Biden has done for electric vehicles, he certainly knows how good the economy is. He knows how good the stock market is. However, they know that Donald Trump is transactional.
As the country prepares for the first presidential debate on Thursday, Trump HQ are pulling double shifts to scatter seeds of doubt wherever they can land, spreading all the unsubstantiated conspiracy theories, such as Biden is on performance enhancers.
That Ronnie Jackson says Biden will have been at Camp David for a full week before the debate, and that they're probably experimenting with getting doses right, giving him medicine ahead of the debate. Is that what you think?
And who can forget dedicating entire segments attacking the moderators that Trump's team agreed to in advance?
Well, first of all, it takes someone 5 minutes to Google Jake Tapper, Donald Trump, to see that Jake Tapper has consistently,
we're going to stop this interview if you're going to keep attacking my colleagues.
Adolf Hitler.
Ma'am, I'm going to stop this interview if you continue to attack my colleagues. I would like to talk about Joe Biden and Donald Trump, who you work for.
Yes.
If you are here to speak on his behalf, I am willing to have this conversation.
I am stating facts that your colleagues have stated in the past.
Okay.
Now,
I'm sorry, guys. We're going to come back out to the panel. Caroline, thank you very much for your time. You are welcome to come back at any point. She is welcome to come back.
But it was after the bombshell announcement of yet another scathing indictment of Trump from within the business community that you realize why. They need every smoke and mirror possible to try and protect this image of Trump being the better candidate to manage the economy.
And even if they want to say, oh, it's not about the business climate, it's about being fiscally responsible. It's just that we're so worried about the debt and the deficit, and that's why we want to go back to Trump and get rid of Joe Biden. I mean, tell me what the rationale is there. In reality, tell me what the rationale is. Because the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, one of these nonpartisan fiscal watchdog groups, put this out today, which kind of puts a fine point on it, right? That's who added what to the debt when you compare Trump's term in office with Joe Biden's term in office. And no, you can't blame COVID. They actually break out the COVID spending. That's the bit in the lighter red color there. So yes, Donald Trump and Joe Biden both spent on the pandemic. They had to. But even if you wipe that out, Trump added trillions more to the debt and the deficit than Biden did, regardless of COVID. And maybe you don't particularly care about the deficit and the debt, but business guys almost always say they do. And so what's the rationale along those lines for supporting Trump over Biden?
Jeffrey Sonnenfeld from Yale School of Management claimed that Trump's plan for increasing tariffs and cutting billions in taxes without commensurate spending cuts, quote, frightened CEOs, arguing many will turn into reluctant Biden voters to prevent Trump from getting back in office.
Going back to William Howard Taft and through Calvin Coolidge and Ronald Reagan and the Bushes and everything, is that it's been anywhere from 40 to 60% public and financial support. It's zero now, and it was zero in 2016. And the Trump economic package frightens them. It's extremely inflationary. The tariffs, 10% across the board on all imports, that's just crazy. It leads to a 3% increase for sure in inflation and plunging the GDP. Right. And that's before retaliatory gestures. The increase in the deficit, he wants to cut $5 trillion of taxes with no commensurate cut in expenditures. So these are problems. He doesn't believe in the independence.
But what do you say? What do you say to the CEOs? There's a lot of CEOs who are watching us now, probably watching you speaking, saying, but you know what? I don't like the Biden administration when it comes to the regulatory regime right now. I worry about the tax policy and what's going to happen if the Trump taxes roll off in 2025 and what that debate looks like. I mean, there are folks, as you said, 70% of the CEO community Republicans. Do they turn out to be reluctant Biden voters? Do they not vote at all? I mean, where do you think they land?
They'll be reluctant Biden voters. They don't want the fabric of society pulled apart.
Now, as I've said, it shouldn't take the opinion of Fortune 500 CEOs to convince the American people that the man who's bankrupted more businesses than he's had illicit affairs isn't exactly the business tycoon that he wants you to believe he is. But sadly, many do. And as Rachel Maddow and guest Stephanie Rule pointed out, it's because the Trump camp have managed to convince the American public of this narrative, that somehow all the business CEOs and the business community are just dying for Trump's return because the economy is in tatters, when it couldn't be further from the truth.
And wages has been outperforming inflation for, I think, 12 straight months, if not longer. So we're seeing some really good things. We still have an incredibly strong job market. Wages are doing well. So I think there's a lot of good things.
Steph, one of the reasons that I think this is important heading into the debate is because I'm not a person who knows a ton about the business world. I definitely don't think of myself as sharing all the same values as CEOs and people on Wall Street and people who think of, who read the business section first and maybe don't even read the politics page. I don't think of myself that way, but I also know politics reasonably well. And I feel like the perceptions of who the business community is with is an important thing, even for people who aren't themselves in the business world, right? Because you start to think, oh, well, these business people are smart. They must know who's going to be economically better for the country. And that's, I believe, why they're trying to create this perception. And that's why it's important for us to report if that perception is false.
Rachel, it's especially important this year because we've had this division, right? All of the positive economic data that you just laid out is disconnected from how people feel, because people haven't been feeling good about the economy because they're coming off of COVID, because of persistent inflation. So when you keep pushing this narrative that the business community is standing with Donald Trump, it convinces people, well, maybe bad news is coming. But here's what's important. There is sort of a subgroup of sort of very, very successful Wall Street financiers. There's Elon Musk and kind of Elon Musk backup dancers who have been very pro and outspoken pro-Trump in the last few weeks. And I want to explain why. They know how good the economy is. Elon Musk and all that Joe Biden has done for electric vehicles, he certainly knows how good the economy is. He knows how good the stock market is. However, they know that Donald Trump is transactional. They know that if they stand with Donald Trump now, if they're throwing fundraisers for him, that if in fact he becomes the president, they're going to have a direct line into the Oval Office. So it's as though they're trying to recreate kind of a Putin's oligarchs here. If they help Trump now, he will take their call and give them the quote unquote get out of jail free pass 6 months from now. Now, that is not the Fortune 100 CEOs out there that have all of these constituents, but this small Wall Street universe, the Nelson Peltz, the Bill Ackmans of the world, they're putting on the Trump show because they would love to have his kind of power and him in their back pocket if he were to win.
And this follows on from a disastrous week last week in which CNBC host Andrew Sorkin reported CEOs who met with Trump were less than satisfied with his, quote, meandering demeanor, which I know can be hard to imagine. I mean, just listen to the razor-sharp articulation from one of the great orators of our generation.
And you're in the boat and you have this tremendously powerful battery, and the battery's now underwater, and there's a shark that's approximately 10 yards over there. By the way, a lot of shark attacks lately. Do you notice that? A lot of shark. I watched some guys justifying it today.
I will say I was surprised. I spoke to a number of CEOs who I would say walked into the meeting being Trump supporter-ish or thinking that they might be leaning that direction, who said that he was remarkably meandering, could not keep a straight thought, was all over the map, and that they, which may be not surprising, but was interesting to me because these were people who I think might have been actually predisposed to him and actually walked out of the room less predisposed to him, actually predisposed to thinking this is not necessarily, as one person said, this may not be any different or better than a Biden thought if you're thinking that way.
If these reports are to be true, then to me, it just shows that people are finally catching up to something that has long been documented. Trump is not the best candidate to lead the US economy. We already have that. It's the current administration overseeing an economy that is so good that the World Bank just said it's actually stabilizing the whole world economy.
He did do well in the polls, better in the Fox poll, better than he's done before. And I think that was mostly independents. And I think mostly because they feel the economy is a little better.
Under Joe Biden, we just had the best year of American job creation in the 21st century. In fact, the World Bank just said that the U.S. economy is so good, it's actually stabilizing the whole world economy.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Midas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.